If you liked using the sum function in the previous video, you're really going to like what I'm about to show you now. We're going to take a look at the AutoSum button. I know, AutoSum. What that means is that you can automatically enter a sum into a cell. Now watch this. We just want to add up this first column of numbers. First we click in the cell where we want the formula to go, and we're not going to type anything. We're just going to go to the AutoSum button. Now I'm on the Home tab, and here's the AutoSum button here. Click right on the face of the button, and look at that. Excel automatically draws the box, puts the sum in for us. All we have to do is hit Tab now, and go over to the next cell, and click the button again. Look at that. Tab, hit the button. Oh man, we're in high cotton. This is great. Okay, so what's going on here? Every time you click the button, Excel takes a guess as to what it is that you want to add up. And it got it right 3 out of 3 times here. If we go back and examine the formulas, I'll just click here and hit F2 on the keyboard. Here you can see that it actually did do the sum of that column of numbers, C4 to C8. If we hit Tab, F2 again to enter the edit mode, sum of D4 to D8. I'm just looking at the blue box now too, because the blue box is what you see after the formula is completed. That tells you the cells that are being included in the formula. Hit Tab again, and again F2 to examine that formula. That's looking terrific. Okay, so there wasn't anything hard about that. Microsoft thought that the AutoSum button was so important that it put it in more than one location on the ribbon. We've seen it on the Home tab, but if we go over to the Formulas tab, here you'll find it in the function library. So let's try it out. We'll go to this top yellow cell and just click the AutoSum button. Excel guesses again. This time it goes left and gets all the numbers that we have over there. Perfect. We'll hit Enter, and then we're going to hit the AutoSum button again. I'm watching the dotted box now as it goes left and gets those other numbers. It's important that you pay attention to the dotted box. Why? Because sometimes Excel guesses wrong. So far, we're 5 for 5. But watch what happens now when we come down to the next cell. I'm going to hit Enter, hit the AutoSum button, and look at that. Watch the dotted box. See that? If we weren't paying attention, we wouldn't realize that Excel now went up and added the 2 numbers above the formula instead of going to the left like it did for the previous 2. Well, that could be a real disaster if we were just going through here and not paying any attention to the dotted box at all. We would have an incorrect formula, and we would probably be in trouble with somebody down the road. All right, so how do we solve that problem? Obviously, we have the wrong cells selected. Well, remember earlier we said that if you have a mistake in your formula, if you haven't hit Enter yet, all you have to do is grab the mouse and then just redraw the box. You just go over here and select the numbers that you do want. Hit Enter. Now the same thing's going to happen here again. When we hit AutoSum, it's going to go up and grab the 3 numbers above the formula cell. Just grab the mouse and go over and get those 3 numbers. We'll hit Enter. And once again, we're just going to hit the AutoSum button and then select these cells that we do want and hit Enter. And one more time, AutoSum, select these numbers, and there we go. I know what you're thinking. It's not working right? Because it's guessing incorrectly. You know, if you went out and bought an automobile that only got you where you were trying to get to 5 out of 9 times, you'd be taking that buggy back to the dealership. Well, not to worry, because Excel really isn't making any mistakes here. It's just that Excel follows a set of predefined rules that helps it guess what numbers we're trying to calculate. And it's the rules that are messing us up here. And we'll take a look at those rules here in just a second. But before we do, I'd like to show you a keyboard shortcut that's really handy. Let me get rid of these 3 cells here. We'll just select them and hit Delete. And we'll click here in this first yellow cell. And watch this. Alt equals on the keyboard. Alt equals is the keyboard shortcut for AutoSum. What a great keyboard shortcut. You can use this all the time. Tab over, Alt equals. I know. Isn't that great? Okay. Now, it also does it this way. Alt equals. But we're going to run into the same problem, Alt equals, when we come to here. Alt equals, now it's going to look up. Sure enough. So Alt equals is a great keyboard shortcut, but AutoSum is still going to follow the rules that's going to cause it to jam up on that 3rd cell right there. Okay, so the time's come to take a look at the rules. I'll hit Escape on the keyboard to abandon the edit that I'm in the middle of here. And let me just delete all these cells here, and we'll talk about the rules. Excel follows a set of 3 rules: Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. If Plan A fails, it goes to Plan B. Plan B fails, it goes to Plan C. So the rules are pretty simple. The first rule says that whenever you hit AutoSum, Excel needs to look up, try to find two or more numbers to add, and then stop adding when it reaches text or an empty cell. So when you click AutoSum, Excel looks up and it finds these two numbers here, 112 and 187. And it says, I can do that, and then it keeps going up the column, and it stops when it reaches Friday. Over in the next cell, we have the same situation. Plan A succeeded on the last cell, it's going to succeed here too. We click AutoSum. AutoSum looks up, it finds two numbers, and keeps adding until it reaches Saturday at the top of the column. Tab over here. Again, Plan A is going to succeed. Hit AutoSum. It looks up, finds two numbers, starts adding up to the top of the column, stops when it reaches Sunday. Now let's go to the top yellow cell here in F4. Now remember, Plan A says, look up, try to find two or more numbers, and stop adding when you reach text or a blank cell. And what do you find right above cell F4? Why, text. So right off the bat, when we click the AutoSum button, Plan A is going to fail because first, it can't find two numbers to add, and secondly, because it hits that brick wall there called total. So then it goes to Plan B, which says, look left, try to find two or more numbers to add. Add them up, stop adding when you reach, you guessed it, text or a blank cell. So we click AutoSum. It goes left, it finds these two numbers, it goes on to the left, and it stops adding when it reaches good old red there. Great, we hit enter. Plan B succeeded this time. This time Plan B is going to succeed again. It's going to look up first in Plan A, but it'll find one number followed by text, and one number is not enough for it to sum. So it goes to Plan B. Here it is. Again, it stops at yellow, and we hit enter and go down to the third cell. The third cell, you recall, is the one that gave us the trouble. Why? Well, I bet you can guess at this point. Remember the rules. Plan A says look up, and if you can find two or more numbers to add, then add them up. And that's exactly what happens here. There's two numbers above the formula cell, so that's where Excel goes. Plan A succeeds. It never goes to Plan B and never sees those numbers off to the left. So in this case, we have to grab the mouse and just select these cells to override Excel's incorrect guess. And this is going to happen the whole way down column F. Let's go over to the AutoSum rules worksheet. Here we have a similar situation. We want to add up this column of numbers, but we don't want to include this blank cell here. Let's see how the AutoSum button is going to behave. We'll do Alt equals. Well, look at that. Remember we said a few minutes ago that Plan A is supposed to fail. If it finds text or a blank cell, it's not supposed to do that, right? And the first thing it finds is that blank cell right there. So what's going on? Well, as it turns out, this time it actually went to Plan C. Yeah. Well, Plan A says look up, try to find two or more numbers, add them, stop when you reach text or, a blank cell. Well, the first thing it reaches is this blank cell right here. So Plan A fails immediately. Then it goes left, looks for two or more numbers, can't find them, and so it goes to Plan C, which says look up and include any blank cells or text. Grab the first two numbers you come to, and then keep adding, and stop when you reach the next blank cell or text. So at Plan C, Excel says, yep, I'll just take that cell, I'll include it, and then it grabs these two numbers, and it keeps right on going right up to the top, and it stops right there. So that's why we see that blank cell included in the selection. Well, what do we do about that? We don't really want that blank cell in there. Okay, it's not going to hurt anything, but just to cross our T's and dot our I's, we'll grab the mouse and reselect the cells to exclude that blank cell. Hit Tab. We can do the same thing here. Alt equals. Again, just reselect the cells. Tab. So here we are in G14. Where do you suppose it's going to go this time? Well, if you guessed to the left, you're absolutely right, because Plan B is the one that's going to be in operation. Plan A will fail here with this blank cell. Plan B finds both of these numbers. It says, I can work with those, and it stops right there. So if we do Alt equals, if we're not paying attention to the dotted box, we may never know that we have a problem here. But you and I, we're paying attention to this. We're going to grab the mouse, just reselect the numbers. Perfect. Hit Enter. All right, I'm going to delete these formulas and then go back to the AutoSum worksheet and delete these formulas. And now we're going to talk about why you don't really have to be too concerned about those rules. Here's a couple tricks you can use so that you never have to really think too much about them. And here's trick number one. If you're adding a column of cells, select all the cells that you want to add ahead of time and include a blank cell at the bottom to contain the formula. Hit the AutoSum button and the formula goes right into that blank cell. The reason this is so helpful is that by pre-selecting the cells, Excel no longer has to guess. The rules don't apply. It just simply sums whatever we have selected. You can do the same thing here. Select all the cells that you want to add and include one cell at the bottom in your selection to contain the formula. Hit AutoSum and there you go. Do the same thing here. You can also do the same thing on the right-hand side. Pre-select the cells from left to right, include that yellow cell in your selection, and then hit AutoSum. In fact, you could do this the whole way down, but there's a faster way of doing this. Now, once again, we're going to delete these formulas and watch this. If I pre-select all these numbers and I also include the row where I want the formulas to go, I can hit the AutoSum button and it'll put those formulas in for all three columns. Pretty cool. Now watch this. I'll go to the right, I'll select these numbers and include the cells on the right, these yellow cells here in column F. AutoSum, and it just knows what to do there. It gets it right every time. Well, if you can do it down and across, watch this one. I'm going to delete these formulas. This time I'm going to select all the numbers. I'm going to select the row below the numbers and the column to the right of the numbers, and then hit the AutoSum button, and oh my goodness, I'm ready to retire. There it is. I call that the shotgun method. I don't know what Microsoft calls it, but man, that's cool. That allows you to put formulas in two different directions at one time. I told you, this is going to get easier and easier as we go along. All right, so let's go over to the next worksheet, AutoSum rules. In this case, you really can't pre-select these numbers and then this yellow cell without including this blank cell here. So what we're going to do in this case is just put in the formula one time, get it to work correctly, and then we're going to use the fill handle to copy it across to the other cells. So here we go. I'm in the yellow cell, Alt equals. I'm going to reselect the cells and then hit Control Enter. Remember, Control Enter completes our edit of the cell, solves the formula, all without moving us down to the next cell. It keeps us right there in position to do what we're going to do next, which is just grab the fill handle. You'll remember the fill handle is this little nubby in the bottom right-hand corner of the active cell. Put your mouse over it. Your mouse pointer turns into a thin little black cross. Hold the button down and drag to the right. And sure enough, there you go. Now, would that have worked over here with this? Sure. We'll delete all the formulas but this first one on the left and this top one here in this column. Yeah, and we'll just click on that 624, grab the fill handle, pull it clear over to the right, come up to the 650, grab the fill handle, pull it down. Now, Excel doesn't care if you go the whole way to the bottom and overwrite that or just right to there, because it should add up to the same thing whether you're coming down or across. So it's your choice which way you want the formula to point. But either way, you can use the fill handle, and that just takes all the guesswork out of it.